Hi, welcome back to episode 4 of my NBA podcast. I am the Nomadic NBA fan. I am finishing up chores at my family's cabin before I get out and get moving for some camping. I'm not quite sure where I'm going to go yet, but I'm waiting for some supplies to get here. And after that, we will be on the road. So it'll be an exciting winter. Last night, there were 4 games in the NBA. And the first one that was on was the Boston Celtics at the Washington Wizards. And the game started really fast, as expected. Um, both teams started off playing great. I mean, just absolutely fun to watch. Ball moving up and down the court. Um, Jordan Poole came out shooting. He had 20 of his 26 points in the first half. Rookie Alex Sarr looked like a rookie. I expected him to start kind of make a bigger first impression, but it can be very intimidating when you start playing with the best in the world, and I think he'll be just fine once he gets his groove. One thing that I did not realize in my analysis before the game yesterday was Valanciunas. I forgot he was on that squad, but he came in with 18 points off the bench to really help the Wizards. Maybe also give them a little leadership. Um, Boston, I mean, wow. They played great again for the second game in a row. They had most of their starters out by the beginning of the fourth quarter. Jaylen Brown and Derek White were still in there at the beginning, and Jaylen Brown was not letting his foot off the pedal. He was going to the bucket, hitting threes, uh, kind of got into it with a couple players, started to get a little chippy. Once that happened, the Celtics took him out. So all the starters were out with 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and the scoring kind of slowed down. We were on pace to hit the over, which we thought we were going to do. Ended up not happening. The Celtics ended up winning by 20 points. The second game that was on was the first game that was on TNT last night. And the first thing we have to say is, man, are the Mavs scary good. Klay Thompson was the perfect addition to that team. He set a Mavs record with 6 3-pointers in his debut. Um, he is going to be the beneficiary of so many open shots that he has not seen in quite a while. He is playing with 2 guards who are great at driving and dishing, and he will be open for 3-pointers for most of the season. Um, it was just so good to see him just lighting it up. The Spurs played the Mavs tough in the first half, and they were led by veteran Harrison Barnes, who finished with 17 points. Um, Rookie Stephen Castle, who we thought was going to have a great game, played okay. Did not have a very good first half, but had a much better second half and ended up playing an okay game. Um, Chris Paul only had 3 points. I think he's taking some time getting used to playing with Wemby. I wouldn't worry about it. Chris is a pro. He's been in the league for, I believe, 18 years now, so maybe 19, and he will figure it out. It will not be a problem. The Mavs ended up winning by 11, but it felt much more than that. Game 3. And the other game that was on TNT was the Oklahoma City Thunder at the Denver Nuggets. And the first thing you got to say about the Thunder is, man, are they fun to watch. They've got so many guys that get up and down the court, hustle on defense, move the ball on offense. It was so much fun. And you could tell they were having a blast. Um, Denver, I mean, you can't come in the third quarter and score 15 points. I mean, you do that, you're not going to win most games. And that's what happened. Would I worry? No. These guys have won a championship. They still have the core together. They lost 2 of their 5 starters over the past 2 years from that championship team. Now, as we talked about yesterday, they had Christian Braun, who they drafted and have developed, and he turned into a really good player. He had 16 points and 7 rebounds. Russ off the bench, I thought he played better in the first game, but it's Russ. And one thing about Russell Westbrook, and I don't care if you're a fan of him or not, when he's on the court, he gives you 100% of what he has night in and night out. The second unit for Denver needed Russ, and Russ did what he did. 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Now, this game, he didn't score very well. And at this stage in Russ's career, he's not going to score 25 every night. Now, will he give us that one night a week? Probably. Maybe 2. And not 4. But you can expect him to get between 5 and 10 rebounds, assists every night. And he will just keep playing like that through the season. Now, the Thunder, what are you going to do? Come out, 20-point win. That's great for them. Next on the list was the Timberwolves at the Kings. And the Timberwolves are taking much longer to adjust to Julius Randle than I thought they would. Now, Julius had a great game last night. He had 33 points, and Anthony Edwards had 32. Naz Reid off the bench had 19. But other than that, they did not really get much scoring help from the rest of the team. There were 4 or 5 guys that had 4 assists, and the game was close throughout the night. DeMar DeRozan, wow, can he still get to the free throw line? He was there 14 times, and Keegan Murray came out shooting. He had 23 points on 5 for 10 3-point shooting. The Kings' problem last night was they need a little more help off the bench. Malik Monk had 17, but he played more starter minutes. Kevin Huerter, who's coming off of an injury, only played 20 minutes. So once he gets his minutes up to 30, they will have much better options for scoring. So I wouldn't worry yet, but there are some issues with the bench scoring for the Kings that they may have to look into if Kevin can't get back to form. This game was up and down and smashed the over like we thought it would. And the Timberwolves did end up winning by 2 points. They were favored by 1, so they did cover the spread there. A new kind of segment I want to start doing on my podcast here is pick a couple teams and pretend I am their GM or their coach. And this is what I would do with their roster or how they should play on the court. And the first team I want to look at is the San Antonio Spurs. And as I was watching that game last night, the one thing I noticed is how great Wemby is, how versatile. The problem is when he gets out to that 3-point line, they do not have anyone who can be down in the paint, getting the rebounds. Jeremy Sochan is 6'8", and a great on-the-ball defender. His wingspan is huge, but he can't be expected to sit down there on the block and pull rebounds. They need someone who can get down there and really muscle up. So if I were the Spurs, I would look to bring in a great power forward. Not a great scorer, but a good rebounder, a good leader. Someone more like a Ben Wallace or Dennis Rodman type. Now, I know that's what they're expecting Jeremy to be, but I don't think he's that player. I think he's more of a Scottie Pippen defender than a Dennis Rodman defender. Now, if I was coaching the T-Wolves, I would try to split up Julius Randle and Mike Conley, because I think that the Timberwolves are best when the ball is in their hands, but there's only one ball. And when watching the game last night, the Timberwolves put the ball in Julius Randle's hands quite a bit. And that's fine. But Mike Conley is a point guard, and he needs the ball in his hand so he can dish it to the guys and they can score. So if I'm putting the ball in Julius Randle's hand, I would recommend having Anthony Edwards, Dante DiVincenzo, Naz Reid, and Jaden McDaniels out there, because they can all catch and shoot from anywhere on the court. And that way Julius Randle can have the ball, he can be the playmaker, he can get it to those guys, and they can put it in the basket. Likewise, I would put Mike Conley with Rudy Gobert, because then they can run pick and rolls together. Mike can get the ball down in the block to them or pass it out to shooters. So then you could have Dante, you could have Anthony, you could have Jaden, you could have Alexander Walker. All those guys play great together. So if you just separated the minutes between Julius Randle and Mike Conley, I think it would be much better for the team as a whole. So that wraps up last night's games. And tonight's games for Friday, October 25th, there are 10 of them. I have picked 5 of them that I think are going to be a blast to watch. The first one is Charlotte at Atlanta. Now, this should be a fast-paced game. They have 2 great showmen running each of those teams. On one side, you have LaMelo Ball for the Hornets, who had 34 points and 11 assists in his first game. And on the other side, you have Trae Young with 30 points and 12 assists. Both of these teams will be running up and down the court, and it'll be so much fun to watch. Brandon Miller is out with an injury, so I would look for Trey Mann to have another great game. He had 24 points in the opening night. The second game, which is going to be a blast to watch tonight, is the Pacers at the Knicks. And this is going to be a rematch of a great playoff series from last year. The big question for last year was, did the Knicks run out of gas, or did the Pacers run the Knicks out of gas? James Wiseman is out for the Pacers. Unfortunately, the calf injury that he had during the Detroit game turned into an Achilles injury, so we'll see how long he is out for. It stinks for the Pacers since they have Isaiah Jackson out. The Knicks are still going to be without Mitchell Robinson or Precious Achiuwa. So it looks like it's going to be a big men only, one for each team, with Miles Turner for the Pacers and Karl Anthony Towns for the Knicks. Because of this, I feel like this game is going to be very fast-paced. I would look for the over on this game, as well as the over on the first game of the Charlotte and Atlanta. One person I look out for is Obi Toppin, playing that backup forward role for the Pacers with with James Wiseman being out. Third game to look at is Memphis at Houston. Memphis looked great in their opening night, and Houston did not look as good, even though both games were close. Memphis could get JJ back tonight. It looks like he's a game-time decision, but as I just looked, it looks doubtful. So that should be something to keep an eye on. It looks like Dylan Brooks is a game-time decision, but he looks probable, so that's better for the Rockets. These teams are very similar. They both have great point guards, and Fred VanVleet and Ja Morant, and they have 2 tough wing guys that they brought in to help on defense with Dylan Brooks and Marcus Smart. I think watching the first 2 games for each of these teams, I would say Memphis is playing better right now than Houston, but I think they are closer than they can be. I think Memphis will win this game. Fourth game I would look for is the second game that's on ESPN tonight, and that is the Suns and the Lakers. Both teams came off of close victories in game one, with the Lakers beating the Timberwolves and the Suns beating the Clippers. The Lakers are coming off a big win, and they had a lot of fun doing it. We got to see LeBron play with his son Bronny. And the Suns came off a letdown win. I mean, I still cannot think of a 3-point win that felt like a loss. Devin Booker is coming off a 15-point game, so I expect him to come out shooting against the Lakers. Anthony Davis came off a game of 36 points. Can he match that game again tonight? I guess we will find out. I think the Suns will win outright. And the last game that I take a look at tonight is the Pelicans and the Trailblazers. Now, DeJounte Murray is out, but CJ McCollum is coming to play his former team, so I think he is going to come out shooting. There could be a Zion sighting tonight. It looks like he's going to have his season debut, and you know when Zion's out there, it's always fun to watch. The Blazers, second-year player, Scoot Henderson, had a great first game. Can he put two together? These are all questions that'll get answered tonight. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch, but I think the Pelicans are going to come in and get a victory. So those are the games that are happening tonight. And let's move over to our fun segment of where Scott was smart and where Scott was stupid. There was a little bit of both. It was more in the middle yesterday, where some of our takes weren't right, weren't wrong, just kind of right in the middle. But let's start where Scott was smart. Clay was a great fit with the Mavs, 22 points off 6 for 10 3-point shooters. Where Scott was stupid, Boston and Washington were on pace to go for the over of 233.5. But once they got the blowout, we knew it wasn't going to happen. They ended up with just 224. Where Scott was smart, Christian Braun, over 15.5 points, rebounds, and assists. He ended up with 24. Where Scott was stupid, CP3 would be better with the Spurs. He only finished with 3 points. Game one, it happens. We thought Scott was smart where he said Minnesota would win by 1. They ended up winning by 2. But I said if they were going to win, Randall could not lead the team with assists. So Scott was stupid because Randall tied 4 others with 4 assists. Scott was smart over the Minnesota-Sacramento 221.5 points. That was 232, but Scott was stupid where he thought Dante would have 2.5 3-pointers. He only had 1. So we went 3 for 5 on our picks in games. So Scott was right there. If I go 3 for 5, 3 out of 5 every week, win 3, lose 2, I'll take it every week or every day. Our daily fantasy picks were right there in the middle. We had Dante played bad. We had Braun played good. And the other guys were right in the middle. No hot, no cold. We said pay for Luka. Probably could have gotten better value, but it's Luka. You never know what he's going to do. All right, so let's move into our 5 picks for tonight. As we talked about with the Hornets and Hawks, leading by their point guards, Trey and LaMelo, I think that is going to be over the 227 points they are projecting. Same with the second game we looked at, the Pacers-Knicks. I believe that will be over 227 points. Again, great point guard matchup with Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Halliburton. We're looking at Memphis +3 against Houston. I'm not quite sure why Houston is favored after the game they had against Charlotte, but we're going to take Memphis +3. We're taking Phoenix +1.5 at the Lakers. I think Devin Booker is going to come out shooting. And we're also going to take the Pelicans -5.5 against the Blazers. I think Scoot Henderson may swing together 2 great games, but I'm not quite sure. But I am quite sure that CJ McCollum is going to come in and take over back at his first team that drafted him out of Lehigh. Okay, let's move now into our daily fantasy picks for the day. We're taking Tre Mann from Charlotte. Brandon Miller is out, and Tre had 24 points in game 1. With Brandon Miller out, I would look to Tre Mann to fill the role. We're also going to be looking at forward Obi Toppin. The Pacers don't have bigs healthy after Miles Turner and Pascal Siakam, so someone needs to come in and fill that forward/center role, and I think it will be Obi Toppin. Devin Booker coming off of a subpar game with 15 points going into Los Angeles. I think he comes out shooting. DeJounte Murray is out for the Pelicans tonight, so I think Jose Alvarado will fill that role. And I would look for CJ McCollum to coming back to Portland with DeJounte Murray out to be a scorer tonight. Those are more budget picks in the guard position. If you're looking for guard play a little higher up, I would look at the Atlanta-Charlotte game. Both of those point guards I project to have a great game. And then also the Knicks-Pacers, those point guards as well. I know it's tough to try to fill in your roster, but if you're looking for a high-priced point guard, look at those 2 games. So that finishes us up for today. Please check in tomorrow to see where Scott was smart and Scott was stupid. And good luck if you place any of our bets tonight or any of the daily fantasy. If not, just check us back out tomorrow. Thanks.